Hey world, what is going on?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good, sis. How you doing?
I'm doing good today. I am. It is the summer. Are you staying hydrated?
I am staying hydrated. You know that.
And that's what we keep talking about on all of our platforms is reminding people to stay hydrated, to stay cool. Um, it is so important right now, especially when we're talking about harm reduction. So I am glad that we are back in front of our people. Let's get them, tell them to share and to like, what to join our podcast. What we say, become subscribers, share and like. We're going to have a very, very, very good discussion today. I mean, we always have good discussions, though.
Yeah, and this is a continuation over the last few episodes um, where we're continuing our conversation about you.
Yes, let me see. Let me make sure my our team can mute. I hear a lot of feedback. Can we mute anyone else on the production team, you guys?
There you go. That's
Okay.
better.
All right.
Yeah,
So
so we're still talking about this, talking about youth, right? Probably one of the most important um, parts of our population. And one thing I was reminded of just before we joined was that old adage, um, an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. And I had said 2 weeks ago that really the way to cure our substance use problem in the Western world. What's going on? What's going on, Des? Good to see you, sir. One way to cure that is through prevention, through supporting our youth, allowing our youth to use their voices, to have access, to services, and to have science-based, evidence-based information. So that's
yeah,
important.
that is important. It's just unfortunate that it seems like we're having this conversation and the people who need, right, who need to be a part of these conversations aren't present, right? Um, it's we keep talking about science, we keep talking about lived experience, we keep talking about the people that need to be at the table with decisions being made about youth and prevention. Henry, why does it seem like they're not listening?
Well, it that dynamic shows up with a lot of target groups, and like my professor in college said several years ago, if you're not at the table, you might find out that you're on, the menu, and there is that piece right where youth aren't at the table, and in Lexington, Kentucky, last week was a 2 day harm reduction conference, and one of the topics was there was a youth panel,
Absolutely.
and I know that we had an expert facilitate that panel, in you, Sharita. So thank you for doing that. But I didn't just like to hear about how the panel went. I also liked to hear about the conversations that you and I had, about the conversations you had with the youth leading up to the conference that we had in Lexington, Kentucky last week. So, what was that about? What did you all talk about? And then share a little bit too, um, about how the panel went.
Okay, cool. Thank you for bringing that up because you know I'm excited. I was pumped when I came back from that. Before we get jumping right into that, I want to share a couple of things, Henry, before we get into this conversation because we're going to get stuck in there because it's going to get good. Um, First, folks, this is your like what is it commercial. We want to remind you as we're talking about prevention this weekend, this weekend, our first annual prevention and poetry event. It is a fundraising event. We are taking donations, but the biggest thing is we got a lineup of folks who are going to be participating and sharing, spitting on the mic about prevention. The conversations that Henry and I are having, the conversations we've been having with our people that support us, conversations with people in the community. We're actually putting it on stage. So we want you to come out. We are going to have a blast on Saturday from 2 to 5 p.m. Join us here at our admin office for prevention and poetry. If you want to spit on the mic, sign-ups will be happening the day of. So please show up. We already have a full list of people that will be attending. We also going to have people tabling. A couple of our community partners will be tabling and sharing resources in the community. So we want you there in the house.
Yes.
I think that was it for our announcements as far as that. And don't forget that you can always donate. We have our donations links that's on our social media platforms. You can go to our website. You can use the QR code. Even if you don't have $40, we do have the $40 campaign. That campaign was intentional. $40 is about how much it takes to put together our kits. Our kits aren't just the Narcan, naloxone that's in there. We have CPR face shields. We are adding a few more goodies to those kits too. So you'll be surprised at what you would get. These kits are free, but what makes it free is when we have people who support us, who pour into us. So $40, or if you have $5, whatever you can donate at the time, please pour into the work that we do. Every dollar counts, and it helps.
Yeah.
So, Henry brought up. Did you want to say something?
Me down. Today, I'm excited to get into. We have two guests. I'm excited to get into that and get the conversation going. Um, but again, last week in Lexington, Kentucky, was a second annual. I think there's our harm reduction friends from Iowa down there that
Yes.
we met in Columbia. Good to see you, sis.
Awesome.
Love from Iowa. Yeah, they're doing good stuff down there. But I wanted to circle back and say what a delight it was to hear about you, Shrita, talking about meeting with the youth prior to the conference and then actually facilitating just a powerful and enriching conversation, mostly led with the voices of our youth that were on that panel. So, uh, share a little bit about what your experience was leading up to the conference and while you were at the conference.
So yes, leading up to the conference, I was asked by the Kentucky Harm Reduction Summit, um, the facilitators, the coordinators, to moderate a an actual panel with youth. And when we say youth, we're not talking about folks who are over 25, right? Because a lot of times we'll say we're having a youth conversation. It's people who talk about their experience as youth. No, these were youth from 17 to 19. And not just from Jefferson County, these were youth from Morgan County, Graves County, and Jefferson County who came together to share their living experience. So real time experience. Henry, okay, I gotta say, I did feel like the auntie in the room talking to the youth in the beginning. I was like, wow, there is a huge gap. I don't have the same lingo. I don't have my kids that call me lame or throw up the L. It's real. It's real because I'm not there. But they gave me energy. When we started meeting, just the the joy that they shared in being asked to participate, being told that they have not. Now, these youth have been on platforms, don't get me wrong, they participated in discussions, but this kind of discussion where they would be sitting in front of folks who have responsibility to make decisions at the legislative level, leaders of organizations, being in a room packed. I think it was easy 200 people in a room to attend
Right.
this conference.
Yeah.
The excitement for them to share their story, and also their frustration about not being asked before now. I think we have a small clip, Henry, that we're able to show. We're going to try it, you guys. This is our first time trying to share a clip. Let's see what happens when our team, our production team.
It really takes a village. So I know me growing up, like all my family was living on the same street. So if I did something, I gotta whoop about 5 people before I even got to my mom. So it was like, and some people's like, oh my goodness, that's so crazy. But for me, it helped me become a better young woman because it's like I was disciplined. You know, abuse and discipline is not the same thing, but I was disciplined and corrected and put back in a child's place to where I'm not gonna do this or do that because I know what I have to do with coming home. So just knowing that you guys are a village, I know every single person in here. I'm not gonna meet all of y'all by the end of today, but y'all are my village, believe it or not. Y'all push me out my comfort zone, and then I'm a part of y'all village now because now I'm introduced to y'all. And I will hope y'all look back to y'all counties and y'all trying to deal with people to get a hold. Y'all, like the villages have to be bound at this point.
Yeah, that was great. I really liked what they had to say about
Hey
the.
there, Henry. Hey there, buddy. So we had some technical difficulties with Sharita's computer.
Okay, we're still recording and we're still live. I was just going to go with that.
Yes,
You want me to still just do that?
yes, indeed.
Appreciate you, Ryan. Ryan is our project
Yes,
manager and production manager, and we
yeah.
also just appreciate our audience's compassion and understanding um, uh, in us trying to figure out the tech side of things. So, what a beautiful and much needed, conversation that was had, and such wisdom, wisdom that this young lady can identify that it takes a village, it takes all of us, and how it doesn't necessarily matter the roles that we play in each other's lives, that we're all ultimately connected so that we can help support this next generation in fullness and well-being, so that they can live, a good, full, fruitful life.
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious on the panel. I couldn't quite see other um, the other youth. What was the breakdown in gender and race on those folks?
So thank you, Henry, for my little glitch in the system. So we had one male, young man who joined us from Jefferson County. He's a black male from Louisville. We had two young ladies.
Look like we're still having technical difficulties here. So yeah, it was a great panel, and I'm not sure if we can get our hands a hold of any more of those video clips. But to the audience, if you all are interested, please go to all of our social media and check out our YouTube. We are always posting content. We even took a poll, and I think some of that data will likely make its way to the screen. We took some polls earlier this week for parents because that's the other thing that's important to consider. Isn't just the youth, but who's the village? Who's the people that the youth are connected to? And do they need support? Do they need this information? Do they need to be educated? Do they need access to resources? And that's also going to be important as we support the children, as we support the youth at any developmental stage or at any age. Do their parents, caregivers, and do the communities need any extra support? So I find it to be really fascinating when we look at different age groups and we look at uh, substance use, and primarily that's what we've been talking about, and really the impact that substance use can have. And I mentioned maybe 2 weeks ago the impact that screen time can have developmentally on the neurochemistry of the brain, and folks that are kids and teens and adolescents, our youth that are more exposed to technology in really more of a compulsive way, are at more of a risk to develop a substance use as they get into early adulthood. And so, learning about and knowing limits on technology and setting boundaries on technology, and also knowing the types of technology that our youth are being exposed to. So, where are we at on our production side of things, guys?
Okay, I'm here now. So I'm gonna say that it is something that's trying to keep us from having this conversation. We've done this before where I think that the conversation was going to be very good. And because we are talking about things that the powers that be don't want us to talk about, it's going to keep doing it. But I think we are good to go now. I'm on my phone. So I want to jump right back into, and thank you all for being patient with us as these technology problems continue to happen. I think we are good to go for now. Um, the youth that were on that panel, as I said, we had a young lady, Isabella, who's a youth of color, who's multiracial, and then we had one white young lady who is she ran for Miss Kentucky, was on our panel. So again, the youth presented in a way that they covered Kentucky. It wasn't just one area, was able to actually represent all of what Kentucky looks like, which is what I felt impressed by. What you got a chance to see, Henry, was a very tiny clip of the moments the youth shared. But I want to share a really profound moment that sticks out with me. There was one share by one of our youth from Graves County where she talked about a tactic that was used where a superintendent would show up. It was called Blackout Day. And the superintendent would show up and be dressed as a Grim Reaper and snatch kids out of the classroom as if they died from an overdose. And then they would have a assembly where they just kind of looked at the youth. It was like a funeral type or a memorial for these youth that died. And the youth that expressed her thoughts and the pain behind it was that we were traumatized. We felt
Yeah.
sad. We were crying. We didn't know what that meant. We didn't know what to do with it. There was no follow up on like therapy. Like it was like fear and scaring. And the way the room responded, the adults, I saw tears. I saw shock. And even me being on the stage, I had to hold back my real feelings because I was like, wow, I've never heard anything like that. And I just, I had the room sit with that. And I remember pausing and saying, let's all sit with what that experience really did for our youth. And to hear all of the youth who literally really just met each other. So the two youth from Jefferson County just met the other two youth out of county, out of the rural spaces,
and they all resoundingly said together, it's not working. That approach is not working. Telling us just don't do it, just say no, it doesn't work. Starting to talk to us as a freshman in high school versus as a third grader, it doesn't work, it's too late. Those were the running themes. It's too late by the time we get to high school. This conversation should have started when we were in third grade. Um, I I was blown away because I didn't have prep time to hear their real time responses, Henry. Like these questions were not something that I already knew how they were going to respond. They came with a real and raw, and it was quite the experience.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I get the intention behind that, right? And the impact
Mm-hmm.
of what that administrator and whoever else was part of making that decision. That's why folks have to be at the table, because I can talk to you and I can be in relationship with you, but if it's left up to me, right, to orchestrate something based off what I judge your experience to be without you contributing to that, there will almost always be a negative impact because
Absolutely.
we don't walk in the same shoes. We don't always walk down the same streets, right? That is a really good example of why children, youth, teens have to be at the table whenever we're making any decisions, whenever we're doing any strategic planning on their behalf. We have to use their voice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so, as I'm thinking about, as we're about to prepare, I wish you were able to be in the room for that moment because I think, you being able to, I think that some adults, Henry, needed to have some moments to digest and probably needed a little therapy after listening to the youth that for that moment. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like a lot of them didn't know how to process it themselves because I think a lot of people with good intention were in a room and that are creating programs and creating so many spaces thinking that they're all hitting a mark. By the time the youth finish sharing their experience, their thoughts on what's lacking. And also another quote, we're 16 is the age of consent. If we're old enough to make those decisions, why aren't we at the table? It they I think people were just like, whoa, now what do I do next?
Well, it just dawned on me the question you asked me earlier, and I kind of danced around it. I didn't really answer. Um, well, why aren't they at the table? Like, why aren't targeted groups at the table when decisions are being made? And the truth is, it confronts us.
Mm,
And like the reality of it is, we aren't ready to be confronted with our prejudices, our biases, our projections, our judgments, our criticisms. And so, one way to unconsciously avoid that is to make decisions and move along on behalf of a whole group, whole population, whole communities of people without them being involved in the process. So that might be unconsciously why we do that,
absolutely.
is to avoid that pain or that uncomfortableness.
And as I'm thinking about this comfort, I'm actually thinking this would be an organic way to bring in our first guest. Uh, it is Becky Rose Bowman, who is in the waiting room or off stage, who's going to be joining us. Hey, Becky. Um,
Hello.
Our first guest is a mother who has her own recovery story and also has her daughter who's walking her own path. Welcome, Becky. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Awesome.
I
So
apologize. I did not plan to be traveling today, and then I ended up traveling.
it's all good. We are all in this together. Um, So, Becky, thank you for joining us. Seriously, I know we have had a lot of conversations. We have talked a lot, and I know you just kind of were you able to see the video clip of one of the youth speaking on the panel?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, but if you could just begin with us, can you kind of walk us through your recovery, like how you ended up where you're at, and the impact it had on your daughter?
So, so I have three kids, and so to start at the very beginning, as far as my recovery goes, it was literally my last night. I had to share my location at like this dive bar, right, with my daughter who had just turned 18 at the time. She's 24 now. Um, and she and my mother literally had to come rescue me out of this dive bar. My mom was late 60s. But so at 40, on my 40th birthday, I found myself in a treatment center called Karen's Place, and that's where my recovery journey really began. And early in recovery, you're so focused on all of the pain and the hurt that you are feeling, and all of that sometimes, like, it is a very self-centered thing, and so you're not aware of maybe the damage that you're causing and the harm that you're causing. So I go into treatment and I thought, oh well, I'll go there for 30 days. I'll spend 30 days in treatment, and I'll dry out and I'll go home. And then after 30 days I was like, oh, I'm not cured. And so that built into a year of separation from my children, but also that I gave myself finally a year, to recover. Um, and in that time, like, I feel like I had to reparent myself, but also had to relearn how to parent my own children. In fact, I just had this conversation with someone else that, as part of that recovery journey in that year, I did an internship at a maternity center, and I thought, my God, like, I do good to like my own kids. Why in the world would they send me here? Babies everywhere, and all the things. And that was probably some of the most transformative time in my recovery. Helping these women in that crisis mode and that crisis time, and then helping these babies. I got to cut an umbilical cord. I got to go hold a new mother's hand, and, like, I feel like I got to do something maybe for someone that wasn't done for me, right? And it healed something in me. And so then I would try to bring that home to my own children. Um, so, being in recovery, I'm 6 years on the sunny side now. But when I first left treatment and I first came home, and my kids came home to live with me, it was a struggle. It's still a struggle today sometimes. But we've had to rebuild from basically the ruins that I left behind. I left scorched earth and entered a treatment center, and they got this new person later. A year later, they got this brand new woman that they don't necessarily know. So my recovery journey, as far as being in treatment and stuff, yeah, I had a year um, of treatment, but treatment's not all of your recovery. Treatment ends, right? And so I had to come home and get a sponsor, and find women who were also in recovery, and really learn how the dynamics of my relationship with my children. Like, I wanted to find people that I could model that, you know, from, so that I could be a better parent. I think I still deal with mom guilt today. I know I do, but at the same time, I can accept and appreciate that while our parent child relationships are different, in some ways they're deeper. and more meaningful because we're more honest with each other.
Thank you for
I think I just got on one.
thank you for sharing that. Any thoughts you're having, or you sitting with it, Henry?
I'm sitting with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think having parents' voice, it brings a different layer. We started another conversation the last podcast, bringing parents in these conversations. It is a space where we're holding the space too and really digesting what's happening. Um, Being able to, as I thought about you talking, Becky, I was thinking about one of the youth sharing their experience growing up in a house with a parent who was telling them, don't do it, don't use, but at the same time, they were using.
Mm.
Is that something you can resonate with? Because I heard it from this youth perspective of saying their parent kept telling them, no, don't do this thing. But then at the same time, they're using in front of them. They can smell the use, they can see them using. Is that something that resonates with you? And how did you handle that?
So I'm going to get really, really honest right now. And there are things I was thinking about this as I was thinking about this conversation that we would have driving up here. I thought, oh, am I going to tell this? And I think I am. Like, I'm going to tell this. So, um, while I did use a multitude of substances right there toward the end, it was more alcohol. And it was more alcohol because that was socially acceptable. It was legal. I could go buy it, and very easy for me to kind of maintain some sort of outward, picture of normalcy. In fact, mostly people ask why you're not drinking. Um, so like I had that very, very deep alcoholism there at the end. So I'm talking blackouts, wake up in the middle of the night and have to drink to go back to sleep because the withdrawal would hit within hours. Wake up in the morning and have to drink to just be able to shower and put my face on and go to work because I couldn't stop shaking. And so with those blackouts, there are things that I don't remember, that I don't recall. And there are times now that my children are like, "Oh, mom, do you remember that one time that you?" And I don't. And so in some ways that's good, right? I don't walk around all day every day in the real world thinking, "Oh my God, I did this horrible, embarrassing, terrible thing." But sometimes, man, they'll hit me with that, and I'm like, because my son revealed to me just a week ago that this happened a week ago that he was like, "You remember that one time that I came into your bedroom and I was like, smells like pot in here or smells like something," and you were like, "No, it's just this," and you let me hit it? And I don't remember ever doing that. Like, I was blacked out. I don't remember that at all. Um, and so I think now how insulting it is to him, right? For me to be like, "Oh, don't do that," you
Mm.
know. And so I don't do that. Okay, let me say this: I do not do that with my children. And so when I talk about how our relationships are different, now it's in things like that. Though it's like I won't say, "Matt, don't do drugs," right? But I do say you come from a long line of alcoholics,
Mm.
and you were there, during things that I don't remember that were horrible and terrible. And so the potential for you to also struggle in this life like this is very great. And so, and I try to be very honest and transparent and accepting, knowing that they're humans too, and they are going to do the things just like, my parents thought, "Oh, I would never do the things," and then I did the things.
Mm.
I try to accept early on, right, that these are the things that are going to happen, and prepare them in that way rather than just be like, "Oh, not my child, mine would never do
Yeah.
that," or after They've seen me. I mean, shoot, each one of them are different. So my oldest child, um, it's like she makes the decisions and choices of someone who's actively using drugs, and I know that she is not.
Mm.
She lives with me. And so I know that she does not, and I know that she is just playing out um what she has seen in her life, right? And I can't cure that for her. I can't, I can encourage her to go to therapy. She does. And I can encourage her to, maybe get on a solid medication regimen or something like that. But really, she's an adult, and I have to um, let her make a choice and be a human, and do my best to support her in the outcomes of those, and part of that, though, is knowing that she has to experience consequences, and she has to experience them early, because my family always protected me from mine.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Whew. When did you get to a point where you could have this conversation about this? And I imagine that this is not easy, right?
yes, right.
And
Sorry.
really have a conversation about the impact, because not every parent can get up and share that, right? And share how it shows up in their children, in their youth.
So, I feel like if I don't share about it, the shame will eat me, first of all, right? And look, like we all, I think, work in helping professions. We talk about serving other people and helping other people, but we don't talk a lot about the reciprocity of that, and about how important it is for you to allow other people to love back, right? And so, like, I feel like I was, you know, when you work a 12-step program, you believe in a higher power. I don't want to talk about God or religion in that way, but I feel like the experiences that I've had with my children and in my life have put me in places where I could help other women, who were struggling with their relationships with their children. I was able to, bring Carson, who we've done really well in our recovery journeys together, able to bring her into some of those spaces, and really expose her to the human and the compassion side of, like, this sickness, right? And I think that helped her to be able to forgive me, because it really became an actual sickness to her, and being a failure, being she was able to understand it as a disease as well.
Becky, you are going in and out. You might be moving.
Yes, I am. Okay, I'm so sorry.
If you take it off the Bluetooth.
Oh, take it off the Bluetooth.
You could let John know we said hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, better?
that's better. You tell John we said hi.
Dawn, let's say hi, everybody. There's Dawn.
So, Henry, I'm sorry. I know I've been pulling the conversation. You could jump in. I'm really like tuned in, but I don't want to take up all the space. If you have anything that's coming up, please feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I'm just gonna sit. I'm just gonna sit with this today.
Okay. Um, Becky, if you had something that you could share, because there's parents that are going to be watching this. There's parents that experienced what you experienced. There's parents that experienced what one of our youth panelists experienced last week, right? Being in a
Yeah.
house where substances are being used and being told, no, you can't do anything and there's no explanation. What do you want other parents to know who may be feeling hopeless right now as we round up this segment, and before you all start hitting those parts, being the deep rural areas, and you disappear on us, what what do you want other parents, or you hope other parents need to know?
So I think the best advice or suggestion I find for parents, and I've worked with a lot of women in recovery in the same situation, and I think it is. I think sometimes we get it in our head, right, that a child is a child, so the child needs to do what I told it to do just because I'm their parent, right? And that doesn't get you very far, especially when your parenting has been less than stellar all their life anyway.
Hmm.
And so I find that when I communicate with my kids, if I come with that like real authoritative, I'm your mom, you have to do this, I'm not received very well. But if I come like you are your own person, you are an individual human being, and I don't try to undermine them. I don't come with this idea that I'm smarter than you, or if I respect my children, they respect me back. And so I can run around my house and drop Narcan in everybody's backpack. And like my son stopped me the other day and he was like, "Oh, yeah, I was going to ask you for some of that," right? My daughter carries Narcan in her purse. She's constantly like, "I just worry, I work at Wendy's and you see people late at night." And so I'm super honest with them. We did that Rover training. There's a Rover box in my house, and my kid has said to me, "Mom, I know some people that need some of these."
Good.
So I don't keep it a secret. I don't hide it. I don't act like it's some terrible thing. I'm like, "Here, God, let me stuff you a bag full of them," right? And here's some Narcan and some test strips and all the things. But I don't make it such a taboo, secret, terrible thing anymore. It is what it is, and we talk about it. And I think they appreciate that I don't tiptoe around them anymore. Am. I just am here. I am their mom.
Becky, how can people find you if they want to reach?
Excuse me?
How can they find you if they want to reach out to you, if they want to chat more, if they
Sure.
like to hear and get support with their youth?
I am going to put my email in this chat here. It's BECKIE at Appleshop, APPALSHOP.org. And yeah, anybody that wants to talk further about that, you can reach out to me via email, and I am happy to talk about it all you want to. I'll talk your legs off.
Becky, thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do know Becky and John's daughter. I have not gotten a chance to meet the whole family, but I do know Carson, who is a young person in recovery who is very vocal and very much an advocate for her peer group, and being able to show up in those spaces. Um, they are amazing, and on our social media pages, whenever Becky, John, or Carson are out in the community, we share. So please continue to follow us to learn more about what they're doing, about dream.org, about Apple Shop. These are partners that we work with, but they're also family. They're also people in the community. They're humans, right? And that's what we do. We connect with people on a deeper level. This is how we do the work. This is how we do harm reduction, and we do it by any means. Thank you, Becky, for joining us today. We really appreciate you.
Thank you
For
so
having me.
much.
You guys have a great afternoon.
You too. Be safe.
Thank you.
Uh, whew, Henry, I'm putting my phone back up here now. We'll be transitioning. Um, there's so many thoughts I have, and one I'm gonna say, and I talked to Becky and John and Carson about this a lot. I felt similar uh, with my own youth. my own young adults in my life, and how in this work, in this field early on, I was a part of the group of, just kind of demonizing substances and making it a moral issue. Um, through the growth that I have, though, through growth and experience, I do think it just comes down to being honest and having those conversations about relationship and what it really is, and taking away the fear mongering of it. Yeah, it's something when they become young adults, they're not littles anymore, and they have little mouths and minds that think on their own and want to be their own person. That's something else. What are your thoughts?
I'm a bit distracted today, and I'm having a hard time being present with the tech difficulties that we've had, and all I can say right now is that I'm here.
No, I am too. No, I share that. I'm like, if my phone don't sit right or do right, I agree. It's been a challenge today to with everything that's going on, and definitely I'm gonna say it. I believe in the universe and spirits and stuff, and I feel like anytime we've had a conversation that would kind of challenge the masses and the way we think, it something happens. Glitches start to happen from even before we start. And I think holding space to say and recognize that we talk about some tough things, and every not every space is prepared for those conversations. And when we're talking about youth, and we're talking about substances, and we're talking about the failed war on drugs, I expect there to be some problems. I do. So I'm with you. We're gonna stay here. This is life, and this is how we show up in real time with everybody. All right, production team. Let's make sure we got our mutes going on. We're making sure all of everything is muted because I hear a lot of feedback. Um, as we get ready to segue, you guys, we have another guest that's gonna join us, and I'm gonna have her come around. She is sitting in the office with me. Sasha, you want to join me over here? Sure. So, like last time, I have the guest in office with me, Sasha Sloan. She said, I have not been doing podcasts, so this is new for me. So we all like sitting in this space trying to be present, which is cool. I'm fine. And it's the real. This is the thing about our podcast, is that we do this in real time, so everybody get to see the authenticity. And I think that's why they like it, is because it really is us just being us. Like you can't get us to do anything different but be us, right? So here is Sasha. I've known Sasha for many, many years. How many years did you say, Sasha? 14. 14 years. About as long as, look, Henry. Yep, as I've been knowing. Yep. I think you met Henry. Yep. So Sasha remembers you too. Uh, but
Well, good to see you again, Sasha.
definitely, definitely. Sasha's joining us today because, like our first guest, Sasha has her own story. It's you know, she has many, many stories, but when it came down to this topic and we did a blast and said, do we have any parents that want to, come chat with us on this podcast today for a little bit, Sasha raised her hand and said, okay, I'll jump in. Um, and you kind of heard what we've been talking about. You heard what we shared with Becky. You heard about the youth panel that happened. Um, why don't you walk us through your path? Take us through your own path through substance use, and now how you're guiding your children, and what's that been like for you?
Well, the word recovery, hey Becky, I was listening to her, and it's a total different recovery process. Being clean was what I was already doing upon meeting Sharita, who was ironically my first drug and alcohol counselor. That was her. I rebelled because I knew how to live clean and I knew how to raise my kids at that point, but I didn't recover. I didn't know how to do recovery. So that was different. And listening to Becky, that recovery is there in her story. However, I didn't stick with it. And one of the questions was my experience with substance use and how did it affect my parenting. CPS, definitely. They're going to come in because of the irresponsibility, the dysfunction, basically. It was just one child that I was raising and I was good at that. But then I would have different areas that I did not seek recovery, helping. People say the steps and traditions and those type things. I just didn't do it. I didn't do it, but I stayed clean. I didn't think that applied to me, and that was my bump heads with Sharita because I thought she knew it all. She thought she knew it all, but
Look at his eyes looking like.
Henry, she was roughing her, okay? But the realness is what got me to listening, her being real. And what I was dealing with, she knew it was bigger than an addiction. She knew that it was bigger. It was my triggers. That, because I got years, 7 years, 9 years, years clean time. And then bam, I'm back in it. But one thing I never lost track of was parenting. And I hit it. I hit it, and I hit it well. With my first son, who's 25, now in addiction. I just found out that he experienced with his own. And I don't take that, I don't feel anything about that. I don't like mothers feel bad, like it's my fault. One thing I was able to do was keep it different. But he knew it was things going on, especially when CPS came and got him and his brother. It was weird, but it came back up full fledged. But honestly, I'm gonna skip because today I don't feel guilty. I don't feel guilty. I don't judge my parenting. Could I, woulda, shoulda? No. One thing I'm grateful for is I was able to be a mother and the best I could. So as life went on, the hardest part of parenting and my addiction was trying to be normal. And I never forget, my baby was born with cerebral palsy, and I blamed myself for that. But then to have doctors say it was nothing that you did, I had cocaine in my system. It was nothing that you did to cause that. I did not sit with that well at all for, I know, his first 5 years. You couldn't tell me that drinking and cocaine did not cause this on my child. I'm okay today, it didn't. It didn't, so we're doing genetic testing. However, still, I beat myself up for years. It's hard to forgive yourself, and I live with that daily. Seeing his progress, I'm okay. And working with his doctors and you and people, just chemicals did not cause that. And I'm finally okay with that. But the damage being done, the separation, like Becky said, I don't know, the separation. And I was eager to get my kid back. But I remember Sharita saying, what good are you to him if you're not good to yourself? You remember telling me that? How can you help Troy and you can't help you? So that was when he was a baby. He was not even a year, and I just kept wanting him back. I wanted him back. And then again, when you went to the Glade, I wanted him back. I was putting it in court every week. I'm sober. What else do y'all want from me? But a parent will do what it takes to do when you love your kids. When you love your kids. It's a hard pill for me to swallow when I see parents that don't. That's one thing that makes me mad. If I can, you can. But it's the reasoning of Henry, I think. I have to look at, I can't judge. But what I would tell people, what was told to me, without loving yourself, you can't love your babies. You can't. You cannot. And going through a recovery, I went through recovery so that I can keep my son after getting charged with a felony. And I chose the recovery house. That's always my escape. I've never been to recovery. So this was my first live in. But I was already 4 months sober, which I'm good. It'll take me 10 years to now if I don't stay healthy, but I will. But those things, I had to let go of the guilt, the shame, the regret, all that stuff through recovery. It helped me. But through wanting to be the best woman and mother that I could be is what keeps me sane. It keeps me sane. And don't slack. That's another thing. You can't do this and not that. Like, you just can't. It's not going to work. Something's going to bump heads. And I know that all too well. Issues will come up. Your past, wreckage. I'm one of them type people. I go deep. I fix everything. I just take baby steps and I get it right. So, but now learning that my oldest son has experimented with drugs. Like I said, I don't feel guilty. However, I talked to him like Becky said. I'm being honest with him. Look what it did to me. You might didn't see it all, but before I had you, I was that street bum. You know.
So let me ask you a question. When before, because your oldest is 25.
Mhm.
Gosh, she's a grown man. What do you wish you had access to in the midst of all that you were going through? Because you're right, you really wanted to be intentional about parenting, but when it comes to him being the firstborn, being the oldest, what do you feel like was missing, or you wish you could have had for him when you look at prevention? Because yeah, he's dealing with his own pathway. But what do you think about that?
Like Becky has said, not having my past.
Mm-hmm.
I was a good mom. He was 3 years old. I was clean and sober all his life, except for the relapse, which was short and simple.
Mm-hmm.
So he went to jail and pulled my name up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dang, mama, really? Like, I had an extensive from 18 all the way up, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. That was my lifestyle. It was my choices. I wish I had sat down like she did and talked to him. Instead of keeping him out of harm's way, away from drug dealers, away from, sheltered him.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that I had said, hey, buddy, let me tell you about me. Let me tell you, because I was the good mom. PTA mom, I was the good mom. That's what I wanted for him and Troy. But at the same time, I wish today that I had sat down and said, hey, Michael, let me tell you something. Let me tell you how many times I went to prison.
Okay.
Let me tell you about my
Be
street
honest
walking
about-
days.
Yeah.
The truth, because I was the good mom. The house, we had a house when he was.
So he
9.
saw everything that looked right. Like,
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I was the. Even though that was really true, my life was good. PTA mom, working, homeowner, that type stuff. But I had left the past before him. Then he was wondering why the whispers, and I would keep him away from that. I didn't want him to hear nothing bad, and that was one of our family secrets with him. My grandmother did not want him to know
what you were,
what I was before I had him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Secrets. Yeah.
Well, do you think it would have been different? I know, having I know for the youth on that panel, they spoke about what they feel like would have been helpful for them, even though they're older, they're youth still, but what would have been helpful in elementary or middle school, they felt like having someone they could trust to talk to when they were questioning things in their own mind, right? Their parents, because one of the youth talked about her dad being a drug dealer. And she said, she used to tell her friends, we're rich. Because in the house looked good. They was traveling. They were doing all kind of stuff. She was like, I didn't see a problem. And in fact, she said, I wanted to grow up and be like my dad. Because I thought he was helping people and being nice. And we were able to do all these things until a friend of hers, very close to her, someone died from a drug overdose. And she was like, wait a minute. That's what my family, and then it hit her, and now this depression, now this all this stuff started weighing on her. And what she said is, I wish I had someone I could trust to talk to who would be honest. But I also wonder, what do parents feel like they wish they had access to? Is it a village of other parents, people who didn't judge you? What else could have been a part of your circle that could have been helpful to possibly change the direction?
I had every door open. I'm just gonna tell you, the universe had me curious. I mean, I did not utilize that until now.
Okay.
As transitioning and living right, your whole circle changes anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you link up with positive people,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's not even a trust issue because you can't hurt me with my truth.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that years ago. So it's for a child. I wish, because I would hear my son say, "You just don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know." And kids say that thinking that their parents don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And I still didn't open up. I just say, "So you really think I don't?" But now I wish that I had said, "Let me tell you how I understand."
Okay.
Let me tell you now, with Troy, with his comprehension at his age, there's more that I tell him. And there's more that I see. Michael didn't see my addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Troy just watched me relapse for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Okay, from the perfect mom to the unstable, unbalanced, not abusive or neglectful, but the routine changed. I'm a consistent person. He went to school, but we might have had to take him because I didn't get up in time to the bus.
Right.
So that child saw more than my older.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't live the addiction part with me. Troy, on the other hand, just did a year and a half.
Wow.
Just did a year and a half. And even the sneaking, like transparency, my house is back open.
Mm-hmm.
Troy couldn't go to the kitchen. I don't know what I left.
Right.
Like, he was hostage with certain areas versus being born to an open house. Then things became isolated. Don't come in the living room. You know, that type of lifestyle. What do you want out of the kitchen? I'll get it. Because I honestly did not know what I had left where. And I didn't want him touching it. But that was different. So I kind of love him harder. I don't. Parents say they love their kids equal. I don't know. There's a difference. In, he's a trooper. He's a trooper. But he loves his mom.
Yeah.
And I love him, but I love me. I love me some me. And it helps me love my boy stronger.
I hear you, and I think one of the big messages that people are going to hear from you right now is, and I guess Becky too, is that being open and honest, being able to openly have that conversation, because, like the youth said on the panel, we're not stupid.
Mm-hmm.
We're not stupid, and oftentimes that's what parents do, is treat their youth like they. We're going to be wrapping up because we can keep going all day, but I do want to ask this last question. What does hope look like now in your parenting, and how would you want to share that to the parents that are watching and trying to figure out how to connect and be honest with their youth? What would you share as far as hope for them? For the parents that are struggling right now.
It's not easy. It's not an easy process, but trust the process, because you're going to have to feel it in order to heal it. And meaning by that is push. Please utilize self-help. There's different avenues. I'm not talking just recovery, church. There's different avenues, and that's one thing that helps me to push. And I utilize what's there for me, whether it's Sharita, whether it's the Bible, whatever. I tend to Google. I do anything for knowledge at this point. I do. So I utilize self-help, and it starts with you. Basically, it starts with you and what you want out of this.
Sasha, if people want to reach out to you to connect or anything, Can they reach out to you on social media?
Costa Rita.
Yeah, put Sharita's phone number out there for everybody.
No. Costa Rita. No, seriously, I got a lot going on, but if anybody wants to reach me, it's secret. If anybody wants to reach me, no, she knows how to reach me. So
Yeah. I do. If you really want to connect with Sasha, she'll be putting more stuff out there as she opens up more about her plans and where she's going. But I really appreciate you joining us for this short time. We got more coming up, like I talked to you about, but I really absolutely appreciate you sharing your story and your experience with us today, Sasha. Thank you.
I stay on her, Henry.
It was good to
Hey, what
see
can I
you.
do? What can I do? It keeps me healthy. It keeps me healthy. It does. All right, thank y'all.
No
See
problem.
ya.
We're going to wrap up here, Henry. Despite all of our, despite all of the things today, the technology issues, this conversation is not going to stop.
Mm-mm.
The youth is the next. I mean, we can't ignore that. Who's coming up behind us is the youth. Who's going to be running organizations? Who's going to be speaking to legislators? Who's going to go to the legislative floor and speak at hearings? Who's going to change policies? Who's going to implement programming? Are people that's coming behind us, and we're not getting younger. We had a poll that we did, Henry, and I think our team is going to throw it up there. About drugs. And on that poll, you can definitely see that we have some folks that are saying, yeah, but that number of folks who are saying not really, I'm interested. We are interested. We want to figure this out. The next polling question was in regards to if people are interested in participating in a virtual session. Again, that number at the top, yes, I need this. 62% of the responses, Henry said, I would like to join a virtual conversation so that I can learn better ways to have that conversation with my youth.
Yeah.
So, you guys, check this out. We are planning to do another in-person here soon, another in-person live event. And we think that this next one will be, the attendance will be large because we're bringing some of the guests that have been on our virtual platforms into the space to have conversation. And also, this is relevant. We got feedback. We heard you. We see that people are interested in learning how to connect. These conversations got to start somewhere. And we want to create the container and the space for it to happen.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, today was one. I want to throw my hat, throw it off to the side. We appreciate you guys joining us for these conversations. We appreciate you sharing space with us. We are not just talking, we're building, and we're building together. We are building and we are creating and we are demonstrating love, the love of harm reduction, and we will continue to do that by any means. Continue to follow us, like our podcast, share it, subscribe. We're working on our technical difficulties. This is a no judgment zone. Show up on Saturday. See us face to face. Henry.
See y'all next time.
All right. Talk to you guys later. We are out.
Okay.